Good morning. I am Carol Lamoureux, Cole Murphy's grandma, and I am going to read some of the Chocolate Touch. Sounds like fun. Here we go. Please, may I go and get a drink of water, please, Mrs. Plimsoll? He asked in a small voice. Very well, Harry. Hurry back. We're going to start in a few minutes. John gradually slipped out of the room and walked quickly down the quiet corridor to a water fountain. His tongue felt thick with chocolate. The cold water would be refreshing. He pressed his foot down on the fountain treadle, and a stream of clear, ice-cold water spurted up from the silver nozzle on the white enamel basin. He lowered his head until the jet of water reached his lips. The cold water splashed delightfully against the inside of his mouth. He opened his lips as soon as the water gushed in. It turned into ice-cold chocolate water, thin and sweet. Quickly stopping the flow, John looked with dismay at the shallow puddle that had formed and was now draining away in the basin of the fountain. He hurried to another fountain on the second floor of the building, but there was the same thing happened. The clear, ice-cold water poured in liquid chocolate in his mouth. When John finally got back to his classroom, all the other pupils were there, bent over their tables, busily searching away. Miss Plimsoll looked up from her book as John tiptoed in. He looked at the clock on the wall, looked back at him, and wagged her finger disapprovingly. John began on the first of the 4 problems, but he was so worried about the chocolate water that he couldn't keep his mind on his work. By the time he was ready to start the 4th problem, the other boys and girls were already putting down their pencils and straightening up and smiling at each other. 2 minutes ago, 2 minutes to go, said Miss Plimsoll. Concentrating hard, John took the end of his pencil between his teeth and began to nibble it. It immediately turned into chocolate. Then he noticed an even more disturbing change. Although he had taken the pencil out of his mouth, as soon as the first piece of chocolate had crumbled off, the pencil was continuing to change to chocolate. The chocolate was slowly but steadily moving down the pencil, replacing the wood and the lead inside, changing it into a chocolate pencil before John's very eyes. The magic, for John now knew that his power must be magic. He apparently was getting stronger. By the time the whole pencil had changed from red, yellow, and black to dark brown, Miss Plimsoll was announcing that only a few seconds remained in which to write down the final answer. Just a minute, John replied. Shh, Miss Plimsoll cautioned him, holding a finger to her mouth. Shh, chorused the slow workers, who were becoming almost as excited as John. But John felt worst of all. He felt sure that he couldn't finish the problem and write down the correct answer if only he could think of something to write with. But Miss Plimsoll, he begged in a loud whisper, my pencil's turned into chocolate. Hush, John, Miss Plimsoll said. I'll speak to you after the bell. John tried to write with his changed pencil, but the point was too soft, and he only succeeded in making a chocolate smear where he should have written 72. Chapter 6. When the others had been excused to go out for mid-morning play, John had to go and stand by Miss Plimsoll's desk. John, Miss Plimsoll said, you mustn't make up silly stories to excuse your failures. I must have the truth. What did you do with your pencil? This is it, John said, showing Miss Plimsoll the pointed stick of chocolate. Really, it is. It changed. What do you mean it changed? Miss Plimsoll demanded. That's my pencil, John tried to explain. Only it isn't the same anymore. Nothing stays the same today as I put it into my mouth. The same thing happened when I chewed my gloves. They were chocolate too. John, Miss Plimsoll slowly, do you feel all right? Yes, thank you, John said. I feel all right, except, he said, I'm getting so thirsty. The water from the water fountain turned to chocolate, and so did the water upstairs. I would like a drink of cold water. Yes, John, Miss Plimsoll said. She suddenly looked pale. You run out and play with the others. I'm going to have a talk with the nurse. And John, Miss Plimsoll said, as he started toward the classroom door, here's another pencil. Be a good boy and try not to lose it. I'm afraid I'll have to keep this piece of chocolate until school's out. You know we don't allow anyone to eat candy in class. Miss Plimsoll put the slightly chewed chocolate pencil in her desk drawer, and John went out to look for Susan. He found her skipping rope with two girls in his class. John usually scorned skipping rope. He preferred hide and seek, tag, FBI, and spies, kick the can, or any other good exciting game. Jumping up and down in one place just to avoid being hit by a rope seemed silly to him, but he was sorry for having spoiled Susan's silver dollar, and he was willing to make a sacrifice. Susan, he said. Susan continued to bounce on the one foot as her two friends swung the rope over and under, over and under, over and under. She didn't seem to notice John. I'll skip with you, he offered. Susan stopped, and the rope was caught by her shins. Let's try double backwards, she said, but not to John. She ignored John. You go first, Betty. Ellen, you go second. I'll go last. The one who does it the most times gets the first slice of my birthday cake. Susan looked at John, raised her eyebrows, shut her eyes, and stuck out the tip of her pink tongue. Then she turned back to the girls and smiled. Ellen whispered in Betty's ear, and Betty whispered in Susan's ear. Then all three of them looked at John and at each other again and burst out laughing. Oh, Susan, John protested. I didn't mean to do it. The trouble is there's something magic about today. Everything I put in my mouth turns to chocolate. The girls giggled. You wouldn't like it, John said, who was beginning to feel sorrier for himself than he had ever felt before. I think it's getting worse, he added reproachfully. At first, you just ate the part of my mouth turned to chocolate, but when I nibbled the ends of my pencil, the whole pencil changed. Pooh, Susan said. The others shouted with glee. Maybe I'll get sick and die, John warned. Maybe I'll turn to chocolate myself. Then you'll be sorry. I don't believe one word about the chocolate, Susan said. And if it were true, you'd be glad, because you ever was eating chocolate. Don't you believe me, John retorted. Just you give me that skipping rope, and I'll prove it. The girls looked questioningly at each other for an instant, but as they hesitated, the bell rang, and it was time to go back to the classroom. The rest of the morning passed slowly for John. He was afraid that his mother was going to be cross about the missing glove. She might not accept the excuse that he had eaten them. He regretted his messed up arithmetic test. He was sad about Susan's anger and disbelief. Then he was getting terribly thirsty. Once during the geography and once during the art, he was excused to get a drink of water. Both times, however, he swallowed nothing but sweet chocolate. His mouth was getting stickier and sweeter and drier by the minute. Chapter 7. All right, boys and girls, Miss Plimsoll said. It's almost time for lunch. Clear up your things, paint pots securely closed, brushes washed, paintings unpinned and laid out to dry, drawing boards stacked against the wall.
I think I have
Okay,
to. You do, yes.
thank you. Bye, Cole.